Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Scots Scheme with Macalester College head football coach Tony Jennison. The Scots Scheme is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Macalester coach questions about the Scots, football or sports in general, or just seek Coach Jennison's wisdom about life events that are going on out there. In this week's episode, the coach talks to us about the big victory over Cornell College this last Saturday. He discusses the rapid progress of his receiving corps. And will the coach and Rob dress up as Richie Cunningham and the Fonz next Halloween? Let's find out on the Scots Scheme. Well, let's welcome back Coach Jennison this week. Coach, first of all, team updates that you might have for us.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate you having me here. Team updates. It's nice to get a really nice victory over Cornell last weekend. Obviously got off to a really great start. I think we had 373 yards of offense in the first half. Defense played well in the first half. Unfortunately, we had the blocked punt for a touchdown. But other than that, we were playing very well defensively. And then the tides turned in the second half. We didn't have any answers for them defensively, and they were moving the ball with their up-tempo offense, really pushing the pace of the game, and didn't help that our offense started struggling. But all year long, one of the things that I think has been pretty common with this team, or a theme of this team, is that when their backs are against the wall, they come through. And you saw that late in the fourth quarter when basically Cornell had gotten it back to a one-possession game. All of a sudden, our offense drove the ball, our defense stepped up, and then obviously we created the fumble on the last play on the kickoff and recovered it. So that was great to see, and it's really been a theme all year that we haven't done a great job when we're ahead of teams. It's like we let off the gas in some capacity, but when we are threatened, we tend to play our best football. And even in the games we've lost, think about the Hamlin game where we were down a couple of scores but came out in the second half and got ourselves back into that game. The Lake Forest game, how we were down 14 at halftime but came back, and midway through the fourth quarter it was a 7-point game. We had the ball, we were driving to score it, and then it got away from us. So that has been a theme of our team, which is why I feel good about moving forward. We're going to have a very tough game against St. Norbert, who's undefeated in the conference as of right now. They've got a big game against Monmouth this weekend. We're off this week, and then we go to St. Norbert. And I feel good because we've competed well with them for 2 years, and I know our players will be ready. I'm confident that we'll give a great effort, and we'll obviously see what happens.
Now, you talked about this a little bit, but from last week's game, your team jumps out to the big lead, and then they kind of creep back in, which has been sort of an MO of the team this season. Are they trying to give you an ulcer out there?
Absolutely, they are. They're trying to drive me nuts. I completely know that about them. I think that they love me, and they're trying to show it in that way. I don't know, but I think it's just they're trying to keep me honest. I'm not really sure, but we've talked about that, and we've had a laugh about it. But I was proud of them how they answered the bell when it really came down to crunch time, when we had to get it done. We stepped up, and I could tell there was a difference on our sideline when they came within one score. It was okay. We're ready, and defense got a stop. Offense drove all the way down and scored, and then obviously we kicked the ball off and got the fumbles. So it was great to see, and again, very proud of our team. It was just a great college football game last week, and give Cornell a lot of credit because we were up a lot on them, and they came storming back. And they're a young team that's only going to get better. So it was a really good college football game, and just happy that we were on the winning end of it.
Jacob Jones scores 3 touchdowns this last week. Since Jeremy Steffen's gotten hurt, he's really stepped up his game.
Yeah, Jacob's played very well. I think he's played well all year, and he was getting a lot of carries early in the year too, even while Jeremy was in. So I wouldn't say it's since Jeremy's injury. I think Jacob's been very consistent throughout the course of the year. He's been very reliable, very tough back, and has done a really great job. Matt Bonazzoli has done a great job throughout the year. We've missed him the last couple of games, though, because he's been injured with an ankle injury. We expect to have him back against St. Norbert. I'm really proud of who stepped up was Ethan Carpenter. I thought Ethan has just really played. His last 2 games have been really outstanding, especially the one against Beloit, because Jacob and Matt both got hurt against Beloit pretty early in the game, and we had to Ethan came in and was great. He was running people over, was running hard, and really gave us a lot of momentum. And just really proud of his effort this year, his attitude. He's been a great leader for 4 years, and really excited that when his number was called, that he was ready for that opportunity. And it was certainly not surprising. I knew that that's the type of player and the type of young man he is. But really, I think Jacob, the point I'm trying to make is that Jacob has been very consistent all year, and Ethan has really stepped up in Jeremy's absence, and very proud of him. And again, not surprising at all, because he's a very good player, and he's ready for that opportunity.
Cody Petrich returns back for his second week since an injury. How did you rate his performance?
He was our player of the game. He played very well, offensive player of the game. Played very well, especially that first half. We just put together a ton of drives. He made some big plays. We had the big third down conversion. I think it was on the very first drive we got a penalty and put ourselves in a tough situation, and I think it was 3rd and 20 or 3rd and 25 or whatever it was, and Cody hit Johnny Knee for a huge play over the middle, led to a scoring drive. So Cody played very well. He was a little inconsistent in the second half, and that's something that we hope that he can work on and improve with. But overall, he's playing very well. He's seeing the field. He's making good decisions, and he's putting our offense in good situations for us to pick up first downs, move the ball, and then hopefully punch it in when we have the opportunity.
Jonathan Nee with career high in yards receiving in a game, plus he had his longest kick return for you. With the addition of him and Alec Beatty for the next couple of years, you have to be really excited about what this offense is going to look like.
Yeah, we were excited coming into the year because we knew the type of talent we had with this receiving core, and certainly Alec and Johnny were a big piece of that, with Garrett Eichhorn and Trey Nowoshinsky and Sam Bordeaux and Forrest Caro, Jack Strybeck, among others that I'm forgetting some young guys too, I think. But yes, we knew coming into the season, we felt as though that the receiving position could be a strength of this team, and I think that Johnny has gotten better all year long. Alec's been very consistent throughout the course of the year. I know that shooting the first game, I think he had 3 touchdowns and 190 yards receiving or something along those lines. So he's been very consistent all throughout the season, and Johnny's really stepped up in the past couple of weeks and is making some big plays. But it's not surprising. Johnny's a very good athlete. We thought very highly of him when we recruited him out of Linfield, Massachusetts. He came into the season and had the best pro agility time that we've ever had on our team. Starting going 5 yards, then back 10, and then 5 yards. So had a really great time with that. So he's got exceptional quickness, and he's a competitor. He's a very good athlete, and very passionate about football and wants to win football games, and it's showing out there. And I really appreciate his playmaking ability, and have high expectations for Johnny, Alec, Jack Strybeck, that sophomore class, along with Forrest Caro. I do think that our sophomore receiving class is pretty special. So yeah, we're certainly excited about the future with those guys around.
One thing that I don't think we've really talked about is the fact is, I would think it's tough as a college coach that players graduate and you're having a constant turnover with this. But you have Alec Beatty and then Jonathan Nee and then Cody as a sophomore as well, and Jeremy Stephan. A lot of these guys in your talent level are sophomores, so they're going to be together for quite a while. I think the chemistry would really be great for you.
Yeah, no question about it. And we've thought about that, and that's where I credit Mark Davies, because he, knowing the talent of our offense, if you've looked at our offense over the years, we've changed every year, and part of it is because of who we feel our top talented players are. I used the example of 3-4 years ago when we had Sam Marshall. Sam was a very dynamic tight end out of Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. Was a great player for us, was our offensive MVP. He was a tight end that never left the field. He would line up as a wing, as a fullback. We'd motion him. We'd do different things there. He'd line up at tight end. We'd split him out in the slot as the single receiver on the backside of trips and whatnot, and did a lot of different things with Sam. And we don't have that same type of tight end right now. Luke Arsenault's working hard. He's a young guy, and I think he has ability, but he's just a sophomore right now. We're hopeful that he has a really strong season in the weight room and becomes that type of tight end. But our offense is different because of the who we have, the talent we have. At a place like Macalester, when you only bring in about 20 recruits per year, you can't necessarily run a certain system and stick with it all the time. You have to be wise enough to fluctuate here and there because of the talent level that you have. Like I said, we have one tight end on our team right now, and it's just not enough depth and whatnot. So we couldn't even use a two tight end formation if we wanted to. Now, Mark's been pretty creative with some of the wildcat stuff that we've been doing. And we've actually used Ethan Carpenter down there as a tight end, and we use Jack Strybeck, who's really a slot receiver, but we've brought him in as kind of a second tight end. We use him at a wing position. But overall, again, I think Mark does a really nice job of adjusting our schemes to fit our talent. And before this offseason, we saw that we had a lot of talent in the sophomore class, especially at the receiver position, with a young quarterback in Cody. And we thought that, again, this was going to be the best route for our offense. And we've been a little inconsistent at times this year, but I think you've seen the explosiveness that we have with this new offense, and hopefully that will continue as we get more comfortable with it.
Something that's kind of lost, I think, in the big offensive showing for you guys is to play of Phil Wettersten this last weekend. He really seemed to be everywhere.
Yeah, he's been everywhere all week, though. This isn't new. If you watch our film, Phil has he's been, I think, our leading tackler almost every week of the season, and sometimes there's a lot of times where he doesn't get credit for tackles he makes. So he's been very solid all year. I do think that his game on Saturday was probably his best game in a couple of weeks. I actually felt as though there were a couple games there in the middle of the season where he didn't have his best games, but he's really stepped up last week. But he's been solid all year. He's a very athletic player. He's very tough and physical, and he's great in pass coverage. He intercepted the ball last week, and it's funny because he told me that when the game was slipping away, he said, "Don't worry, Coach, I got your back." And then he went out and made that interception, and I thought it was pretty cool. But Phil's been a great player all year, and he's one of the toughest guys we've got on the team, and certainly we expect that out of him because he's proven that he can be that type of player for us. So I haven't talked to the other coaches yet about this, but my plan is to nominate him for all conference this year because I think he's very deserving as an inside linebacker. This week you're on a bye, so what does that look like for your team? This is the first year we've had a bye so late in the season. We've been grinding for I think 11 weeks now, so it's been a long haul for us coaches. It's been a long haul for our players. So we've been a lot lighter than we typically are. Usually the bye week comes after our second game of the season, and historically we've used the bye week. We've given them some time off, but we've also continued to practice at a pretty high rate. This week has been very different for us. We took off on Monday. We met with our sports performance coach, which I don't know of how many D3 teams in America that have a sports performance coach. Coach Cody is great, and we met with him to kind of wrap up the year in terms of where our minds are at and our thinking and how to use our thinking to get the best results. We did a little bit of yoga for flexibility purposes, so really it was a low-key day. I know they were pretty fired up for Halloween and stuff like that, so it was a low-key day on Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we've just had some light practices. We've only been out on the field for today we're out for an hour and 10 minutes. I think it was 60 minutes on Tuesday. Yesterday was a little bit longer, maybe an hour and a half or close to it, hour and 25 minutes. I can't exactly remember, but so it's been a little bit lighter this week. We've also done some work with our young guys, our futures we call them. We've done some more work with them because a lot of our freshmen and some sophomores and a few other guys too have been playing scout teams all year, so they haven't necessarily been working our offense. They might be running the opposing team's offense, and so they haven't got as much work recently with our offense, or players defensively who've been running the opposition's defense haven't run our defensive play calls in some cases for some time. So we've been doing a little bit more with our futures in terms of running more plays with them offensively and defensively while resting some of these guys that have played consistently throughout the year, and we'll do a little bit more of that today this afternoon. But then we're taking off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is going to be spectacular because at this point of the year, we haven't had any days off for a long time. So I'm excited for our players. I'm excited for our coaches, quite honestly, because again, we've been working 7 days a week since mid-August. So it'll be really nice to have a 3-day weekend. Your family will remember what you look like now. Yes, or maybe, yeah. I'm excited for that. I think they are too.
Let's head to our fan questions. Bill from St. Paul asks, what is the kind of football player that you as coaches look for the most?
Well, for me, certainly you want to look for football ability, but that's not the most important thing to me. And I say that to people all the time. We don't recruit the best football players. We recruit the best people. Who I am as a person, I don't want to surround myself with a bunch of jerks. I want to have a good experience. I want to surround myself with great people. So what we look for here at Macalester, we want really exceptional people. We want young men who are leaders in everything that they do. We want young men who strive for excellence in all aspects of their life. We want young men who are positive about challenges and positive in the face of diversity, because young men like that are going to bring pride to our football program, whether they're in the cafeteria, the weight room, the practice field, the classroom, or in the middle of St. Paul wearing a Mac football shirt, or in the middle of Topeka, Kansas, or Los Angeles, California, or Alexandria, Louisiana. Those types of young men are going to bring pride to our football program. So again, we just look for really exceptional people first and foremost, who are serious about the academic challenges that they have here, and then also passionate about football.
Our next question is from Bob from Topeka. He says, the stands were abuzz last Saturday from the look of the Fighting Scots and their orange pants. Any chance the orange pants can make more than a once-a-season appearance next season?
Don't blame me for that. That's all on the players. Every week our leadership council decides what color pants we want to wear. The funny part about it is there's a reputation around there. They think that I've said that they can only wear the pants 1 week per year. For whatever reason, they keep talking about that, but I've never said that. I'm not a huge fan of the orange pants, but they choose what color pants they want to wear each week, whether it's white, blue, or orange. And so you can blame the leadership council for that one, but yeah, it doesn't really matter to me what color pants we wear. I do know that I don't want orange every week. I like to change it up, but talk to the players about that one. They can change that.
Tammy from Milwaukee would like to know, how hard is it to have just one game left in the season, knowing that this will be the last time you are coaching some of these seniors?
It's an emotional thing for me. I get pretty attached to our players, and I think the whole week it's emotional for me. We're going to do a senior send-off next Thursday. It's something we do with their last practice every year, and that's emotional for me. Certainly after the game, after the last game will be emotional for me. So it's hard for me simply because I think I care about our players, and I think that's why it's hard for me. So I struggle with that, but at the same time, everything has to end, and that's part of life, and it's part of moving on, and certainly I have high expectations that when they leave the Macalester football program, they're going to continue to be great people. They're going to bring pride to our football program it's now in just different aspects of their life. So it's fun to see them move on, and fun to see the successes they've had, and I hope that they take with them some of the lessons they've learned along the way through Macalester football. But I do have a hard time with it, again, just because I think I care about the young men in our program.
Dan from Tulsa would like to know, in this sad year of presidential candidates, who are leaders that you admire?
That's a tough one. I'm not very big in admiring people I don't know, because I guess I want to make my own judgments up. I want to judge people for how they treat me and how I see them treat others around. So I would say most of the leaders that I look up to are people that I know personally. I would say family members. My mother raised, me and my brother on one income and not much help, and so certainly my mother, all the time she put in and whatnot, and the coaches I had growing up were pretty special to me. There's people here at work, President Roseberg, he's a leader that I admire. I look up to him, and every time I talk to him, I'm inspired to do my job better. Paul Olson, who is an alum of Macalester, and as an alumnus, he's also on the board of trustees, very successful in life. And every time I talk to Paul, I'm inspired to do my job better as well. He's an outstanding man, and he was actually at the game this Saturday, and it was meaningful to have him there. And he's been an alumni mentor for a couple different seniors in our program, and has really invested a lot in helping me be the type of coach I want to be. So really, it's people that I surround myself with. It's not political figures or coaches out there or anything like that, because I don't really know who those coaches are. Sometimes I've met those people and been very disappointed in who they are as people when I get to know them better. I think the one person that I've gotten to know in terms of big time coaching that I still admire and still respect is Bill Snyder from Kansas State. I met Bill Snyder when I was a student at Wisconsin Lacrosse. I knew I wanted to get in the coaching world, so I went down to the Wisconsin Football Coaches Association clinic, which is a great football clinic, and it still is. And Bill Snyder was speaking, and he spoke about culture. I still have my notes from that, and I still review them every now and then. And he got a standing ovation after his speech because of, I guess, just how great it was, how impactful it was. And again, it really wasn't about X's and O's or anything like that. It was about creating a culture of success and creating a culture that wins. And I went up to him afterwards, as a young college kid. I was probably 21 or 22 at the time, about to graduate, knowing that I wanted to get in coaching. And I had probably a 10 to 15 minute conversation with him, and he knew who my head college coach was, Roger Herring, and asked how Coach Herring was doing. And I remember going back to Coach Herring a week later saying, "Yeah, Bill Snyder's the sign." He said, "Who? Who's that?" And here, he's the head coach at Kansas State, and he's turned around what had been the worst Division I football program in America. And I remember writing to Bill Snyder when I got into coaching, when I got my first full-time job. I found a book online, a leadership book from him, and I read the book, and I was just as inspired after reading the book as when I listened to him speak. So I wrote him a note, and he wrote me back a handwritten letter. And then when he retired the first time, I wrote him a letter, explaining who I was and that I was now coaching and all this stuff. And then when he retired again, I wrote him another letter back, and he wrote me back again. I've got those. Those notes are still up in my bookshelf there in his leadership book. I haven't reached out to him recently, and maybe I will someday, to let him know that we too have taken what had been one of the worst football programs in Division III football and taken it to a point where there's a lot of pride surrounding our program right now. But certainly he's someone that I've stolen some of his philosophies from and whatnot, and got to meet him, and he was a great human being and treated me with a lot of respect, even though he had no business wanting to spend time with a 21-year-old college kid that was just getting into coaching at the time. But so I tend to be the type of person that has respect for the people that I know. I'm pretty tough to, quite honestly, I think I'm pretty tough to impress. So I think that's why I don't have a lot of close friends and stuff like that, because it takes me a long time to really trust someone and believe in someone. So I don't really have, leaders that I admire aren't going to be people that most people know. They're going to be people that I've gotten to know very well, friends, family members, or what, or co-workers, or people I've met through Macalester football that have impacted me. But typically, it's not going to be big name people, just because of who I am, I guess.
I do have to say that I had to go through a comprehensive background check just to get into this office. So
That's right.
Next up, we have Mark from St. Paul, who says, with your team on a bye week, I would assume you got to enjoy some of the World Series.
Yeah, a little bit. I've still made some recruiting calls. The other night, unfortunately, I wanted to watch the World Series, but it was chaos at home because both Michael and Elizabeth, my two oldest children, had tests coming up, and they needed help with printing something off, and it wasn't working. And so I haven't got to see as much as I wanted, but last night I did watch from, I think, about the 7th inning on. I made recruiting calls till about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and after that, my son and I, we watched the tail end of the World Series, and that was pretty awesome to sit down with him and watch it, especially with the way the game went. So I've seen a little bit of it, not as much as I would have liked, but I have seen a little bit of it, and Yeah, I'm excited for baseball season next year. Can I say that already? next spring, next March.
Sam would like to know what you decided to go for for Halloween.
Oh, I don't know that you have a name for it. I just threw on one of the girls' wigs and put it under a hat because it was raining a little bit. So I had this long, straggly hair. My daughter said I was Ariel from I think the Little Mermaid, if I'm correct. But it's the hair doesn't look like Ariel's, I'm sure, because it's all ratty and scraggly and stuff like that. So it was a little bit strange being the only dad walking around, because we ended up walking around with some of our neighbors, and I looked like an idiot and they looked normal. But as I said, I'm going with it. They seem to appreciate it just fine. So, yeah, it was great. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy doing trick or treating with my kids, and I look forward to it next year too.
Mary from outside Chicago asks, any chance that Rob and you would dress up as an aging Richie Cunningham and the Fonz for Halloween next year?
There's a great chance of that. You send us a costume and you'll have Rob and I in it, right, Rob?
I don't know. I don't think you'd make a good Richie Cunningham.
No, I'm the Fonz. Are you kidding me? You're Richie Cunningham. I'm the Fonz.
And now the show. Why is it great to be a Fighting Scot?
It's great to be a Fighting Scot because we're off this weekend. It's the first. It'll be again Friday. Tomorrow will be the first day. I've got some recruiting calls to make tonight, so we've got a short little practice coming up here in a couple hours, and then I've got conferences for my children, but after that I've got to make some recruiting calls. But I'm not coming in tomorrow, and I'm probably not going to turn on my phone. So if any of you parents are listening out there, you might as well not call me, or players, don't text me, because you're not going to get a response. I'm probably going to be off the grid for a couple days. So it's great to be a Fighting Scot because we've got a little time off here and a little time to heal up, and a little time to refocus next week and come back refreshed. So I'm certainly excited about that, and I'm pretty confident the rest of our coaching staff is, and I'm 100% confident that our players are excited about that too. So that's why it's great to be a Fighting Scot.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
Thank you, Rob.
We want to thank Coach Jennison for joining us on the Scots Scheme this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Macalester coach, please send them to us at TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Wednesday evening so we can give the coach a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report.